Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast, my locals, about what's going on in the South Florida real estate market. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant. I'm an expert witness, also the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner, my co-host, and the moderator of our discussion today, no one else but Daniel Hernandez. He's a real estate advisor over at Compass Real Estate in Coconut Grove. He does single-family houses and condos. He kind of does it all.
We'll do everything, really, honestly.
Yeah, you kind of do everything. So what's going on, Daniel?
What's up, man? Happy week of the 12th. Is it Friday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? I don't know what day it is. We might be pre-recording. We might be going live. But if you're tuning in, this is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, episode number 35. We are now 2 weeks into 2026. And if the next 50 weeks say anything, or if the last 2 weeks say anything about the next 50 weeks, 2026 is going to be a doozy. But if you're joining us for the first time, somebody sent you this, thank your friend, because you might learn something today. If you're a loyal follower / and or listener, thank you for coming back and listening to us jab, back and forth. But this is Buy, Sell, Hold. And so week after week, Peter and I throw stories back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And we pick five stories, 5 topical topics to be redundant, but we back them all into South Florida real estate. So whether that's talking about what's going up in Tallahassee or Washington, D.C., even all the way up the coast, and whether it's condos, single family houses, maybe even an industrial site or two, we're talking about it here. So jumping into it, I did mention Tallahassee. The legislators are back. They're back in Tallahassee. They're back to their real jobs. I think that's their only jobs because this is 2026 and politicians are career. But they're back. And the Miami Herald wrote a story about a few bills as they would relate to real estate. The most prevalent of which is something called Senate Bill 840. Now, I know it's total sleeper. We're talking about laws and that. But Senate Bill 840 is actually the little brother to Senate Bill 180, which is something we've talked about a lot on this show. And I'm going to remind you what it's about, Peter. It's the one that has the language restrictive and burdensome. Does that remind you of something?
Yes. A lot of things are burdensome right now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about those in a few minutes. So the Florida Home Builder Lobby, the legislature, was hard at work last year when they voted in SB 180. And that was the one that drastically limited local powers to restrict building. Per our comrades up in Tallahassee, it was designed to make it easier for our communities to pick themselves up after a hurricane, right? And in a state where hurricanes are about as consistent as the ebb and flow of tides, it's less of a break in case of emergency and more of a status quo thing. So what was happening is hurricane comes through and developers can now supersede all these local controls. Developers can build bigger. Developers can take out trees that aren't supposed to be taken out, all under the ruse of we're rebuilding after a storm. And so State Bill 840 goes further than, Senate Bill 840 goes further, or narrows, actually, I should say narrows Senate Bill, I keep on saying State Bill, Senate Bill 180, because there was a ton of backlash, because they said the restrictive and burdensome language was, well, too restrictive and burdensome. So they're narrowing this a little bit. And this is what really twists you know what they twist, Peter, but the radius. So the radius previously was 100 miles. So a storm rolls through and 100 miles around this storm, this reconstructive capabilities that they were gifting to developers was there. Now they've narrowed it to only 50 miles. And Peter, you were here during Andrew. How wide? And Andrew was destructive, very destructive. 1992, most costly natural disaster in the history of the U.S. until Katrina. I think Katrina blew it out of the water, and I don't think there's been anything since. But how far-reaching was that destruction? Was it 100 miles?
I got here a year later. I got here in
you got here a year later.
Yeah, but what I can tell you a year later in October 1993 when I got here versus August of 1992 when Hurricane Andrew came rolling through, and I think it was a Cat 5 because they went back and they sort of reassessed it, kind of like what they do with the GDP numbers and the inflation numbers. They go back and they look at it and they sort of perfect it. I think it was a Cat 5, but I will tell you in downtown Miami, in the city of Miami, primarily on US 1, that road where I-95 ends and takes you down to Key West, there were no trees. There were no trees a year later, just to give you some context. So if the storm came through in Homestead, which is probably what, 20, 25 miles south, 20 miles south, up this way, there was still damage.
But that's 25 miles. That's not 100. I mean, how far is, what is Palm Beach from here? 70 miles?
Well, I just looked it up, 73-mile distance from Miami to West Palm Beach. So this would take us into the Treasure Coast. So effectively, it would be at least 4 counties, maybe 5 counties.
So if I'm a developer in Port St. Lucie and a hurricane hits Homestead, I get the same reconstructive capabilities as the folks down in Homestead per this.
It would be kind of convenient. I mean, how many counties we have in the state of Florida? 67. So you figure every time a storm hits, you got 5, 6 counties in play because it could be both sides as well. Remember, if you go over to Collier County, which is where Naples is, you might actually be impacted there. You might actually be able to take control.
Where Ray Finkel's from.
Well, and Daniel, here's the key. How are they going to know what the point of reference is? By the way, NOAA just cut a bunch of funding, or the feds cut a bunch of funding for NOAA, which tracks all the hurricanes.
I don't even know where hurricanes are anymore.
Now it can effectively be by state. Listen, this is part of the overall movement that's underway. One, it began with property taxes. Let's eliminate property taxes. Nobody needs to pay property taxes. If you're homesteaded, let's give Tallahassee the ability to make the decision. This is, let's do live local. Live local basically says you can override any kind of local zoning, planning, all of that type of stuff. And as long as you're allocating a certain percentage of units for renters, why to promote development. And this is another step. This is all about stripping away the power locally, putting it all in the hands of Tallahassee and letting them decide who is right, who's wrong. And if you're not right and you're not wrong, you're not getting the financing that or the funding that you might feel as if you're qualified for because we don't have state income tax. Everybody's making their money off of property taxes. That's what drives these economies. That's what gives them their independence to make the decisions they like to make. And sometimes you get a situation like Miami-Dade County, which is dominated or is run by a mayor of the county who is a Democrat, and now the mayor of Miami, who's also a Democrat, and most of the people up in Tallahassee, which is where our state capital is, way the hell up. It's probably a 6-hour ride. They're all hardcore Republicans. Yeah, well, but yeah, exactly. So this really seems like they're stripping the power away. They're taking they're mimicking what's going on in Washington, D.C., where if you're in a red state, you get great stuff. And if you're a blue state, they send in the guy with masks to go in there and kick indoors. That's what it seems like. That seems to be the movement. And do not look past anything more than the fact that this is a power grab from my perspective.
It's a power grab, but it's also a gift, right? I mean, we've been talking about live local, supersedes local controls. The city of Miami has come up with their own development toolbox bonuses, TSND. Miami-Dade has RTZ to try to pull that power back. But this is a very, very, very big power grab. In fact, and it's not related to this Senate bill. I forgot what the number on it was, but another bill that was proposed would allow any mega development. I'm going to call them mega developments because they are mega. That anything over 10,000 acres, just go do it. Have fun, kids. No public hearings, no nothing. You guys can build whatever you want. If you work so hard to raise the money to build a 10,000 acre mega development, you guys can build whatever the heck you please. That's also very interesting. I don't know how many of those are planned or even proposed in the state of Florida, but the fact that they had to put that in front of the Capitol, in the Capitol, I think it's like who writes legislation like that, Lennar? Who?
Well, yeah, but let's think about that. Who would have done something like that in the past? Old man Disney, Walt Disney. Isn't that effectively what he did? Maybe there's some big project coming down the pike. Remember, up in the northern portion of Florida, Port St. Joe or St. Joe Corporation, the one that owned all the timber and was doing all that type of stuff. I wonder if there's not some big thing in play. Who's to say
something in the pipe in the next few years that they see pushback on? You mean?
That's what it sounds like to me, or maybe Disney's going to take advantage of it, or I don't know. I mean, this sounds like a massive type of situation. It's
because
very
it's just
unique. It's not,
10,000 acres is a lot of land.
unless you roll back the UDB. If you eliminate the UDB, which is the urban development boundary line, it's an arbitrary line crafted that basically says on one side you can build, the other side that's for the alligators, the panthers, and the pythons.
And the farmers. So you can have farmland out of the UDB.
Well, you can have
unless you're Chinese, but we'll get to that in a second.
Maybe so maybe something big is coming down the pike. Maybe this is just one of the first steps. It kind of falls under the radar, but it didn't fall under your radar because you detected it. And kudos to you, Daniel. Kudos to you.
What can I say? I'm one of 10,000 subscribers to the Miami Herald. We started this timer a little late, so we're just up on time on this one. Legislatures are so back. Legislators. Why do I always keep on saying legislatures? So we only have one, right? The Florida.
Well, yeah, but they all kind of move unanimously. So virtually both are the same.
Fine. Buy, sell, hold. Are they going to get anything done? Is anything going to be productive here? Or is Daniel Perez and apparently Ronnie Boy ain't picking up Daniel Perez, Speaker of the House, Daniel Perez's phone calls.
Ron DeSantis, the governor, the lame duck governor of Florida, on his way out. And a gentleman out of what? Isn't he out of Hialeah, Daniel Perez, Speaker of the House?
No. I don't think. Is he out of Hialeah? Really? No, I don't think he's local. Is he?
He's definitely down here.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Bear with me. This is called real time at Daniel Perez. Florida.
Daniel Perez is from Florida House District 116. Where's 116? Is that Hialeah? District 116 is Miami-Dade County. Yeah.
Westchester.
Yep. Westchester.
It's out there. The same place that Pitbull, Mr. 305, comes from.
Our better hot dogs. I thought Pitbull was from Homestead.
I don't know.
All right. I'm not fact checking two things back to back.
Anyway.
Are they back? Is it going to happen? Are they going to get things done? Or is it just going to be like this for the next year, 2 years?
I would be a buy that they're going to get some stuff done. I'm not happy what they're getting done or attempting to get done, but I would say they'd have to get it done because there's no opposition. There's no speed bump whatsoever. Maybe the pissing match between Perez and outgoing Governor Ron DeSantis, but short of that, they're probably going to do whatever the hell it is they want.
I'm just sitting back with popcorn and watching the show. Alligator Alcatraz is still open. They haven't done anything about that. But moving on to the next one. Florida ain't helping itself with our lame duck governor and Speaker Daniel Perez, doing this. I keep on banging my knuckles together. They're going to start bleeding, but that's the reality. That's what's happening. So this one's about Senate Bill 264. And I'm sorry, guys, we're talking a lot about the acts in Tallahassee because it's the new year and they're getting back in session. And so they're proposing all of these things, all of these changes to our way of life. When I talk about our way of life, we always back everything back into real estate, right? And so SB 264 directly affects that. You guys might have heard of this. It prohibits the sale, purchase, and ownership of certain Florida properties. And I'm going to talk about that one. Certain Florida properties is vague, but buying certain buyers who are associated with, and I quote, a foreign country of concern, namely the People's Republic of China, the Russian Federation, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which that's the one up north, not the one down south, and the Republic of Cuba, the Venezuelan regime of Nicolas Maduro. They're going to have to change the language in that one because he's not around anymore, and the Syrian Arab Republic. And so anybody from the places I just named, they can't buy real estate in Florida. They can't. And the Chinese are even, the legislation against the Chinese is even more austere. They can't buy within, I think, 10 miles of critical infrastructure, or which includes airports. And I looked it up on the map. You know what else is included in critical infrastructure, Peter?
It's like armories or something, right?
No, dude, electrical substations. So they can't buy anywhere. There's an I'm spitting distance from like 5 electrical substations. And so there's all these little carve outs, like if you have a certain visa or you have this or you have that. But if you're one of these peoples, you can't own here. And we have, at least here in South Florida and Dade County, we have such an influx of foreign capital who want to buy real estate here. So what the heck? Where's Miami Association of Realtors? Hello? Like, I hear nothing out of these guys. And granted, there are bad people from the places I just named. I'm not going to run through the list again. There's like 7 or 8 of them. But if there's legitimate capital trying to come here, trying to build businesses, trying to spend money, why are we just sort of laying down and saying, all right, fine, nobody can buy here? China's the second largest, if not the largest economy in the world. We should come buy some condos, man. How many months of supply we got, Peter?
South Florida, 12 months. Downtown Miami, about 18 months of condo supply.